Just a quick warning, I will be saying some disturbing things about child sexual abuse in this video. If you don't want to listen to it, please turn off now. Don't Vote Labour Again, Episode 40. The Grooming Gangs, A Deep Dive, Part 1. The gangs. The UK grooming gangs story simmered under the surface for years, with many people aware of it, but media coverage and mainstream political attention muted, if there was coverage at all. Firstly, let's call the horrendous groups what they really were: paedophilic rape and torture gangs. Grooming is far too soft a term, used because an accurate expression is just too unpleasant. In essence, what occurred, and what may still occur, was organised gangs of men, mainly of a Pakistani Muslim background, luring teenage girls into sexual activity and then trafficking them between each other. The victims were mainly white British and Sikh girls, often working class and from deprived and troubled backgrounds. We don't know the full extent of it, but we do know it happened in dozens of English towns and had tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, of victims. Charlie Peters of GB News estimates 50 towns across the UK based on his extensive research. Many of these towns and cities were Labour-controlled. It was nationwide in some instances, with girls being driven around the country to be abused and men from far and wide flocking to join in. In Telford, the organised rape may have resulted in the murder of a victim. Lucy Lowe was killed along with her mother and sister and the baby she was pregnant with. Azhar Ali Mahmood burned down Lowe's house in September 2000, the fire only sparing Lowe's father. Lucy was 16, having been involved with Mahmood since she was 14. She had also given birth to a child at that age. She had allegedly been attacked by an older man 3 months before the fire. Mahmood was convicted with 3 life sentences in 2001. The murders were apparently used by other abusers to scare their victims into silence. Another Telford victim, Becky Watson, died in a mysterious car accident in March 2002. She was 13. The 25-year-old driver, one Ahmed Nawaz, convicted for 3 years. Another victim, Vicky Round, died of drug abuse 6 years after her rapists got her addicted to crack cocaine and heroin. In Rotherham, 17-year-old Laura Wilson was brutally murdered by her abusive boyfriend in 2010. Ashtiaq Asghar, also 17, stabbed her repeatedly in the head and pushed her into a canal. This happened after Laura had told his mother about their relationship, sending his mother into a racial tirade. Ashtiaq apparently felt shame over this, and thus duty-bound to murder the girl. This is the warped, misogynistic logic of these scumbags. This atrocity was dubbed an honour killing, another imported evil, at the time, but the sexual abuse angle was downplayed. Officially, like the Lucy Lowe and Betty Watson deaths, it is not grooming gang related, but clearly there are signs it was connected, or at least something very similar. Laura had apparently been in this kind of relationship since she was 11, and was also in one with Ashtiaq's friend, 22-year-old Ishaq Hussain. She had a 4-month-old child by Hussain, and his family had been made aware of this as well. Hussain was tried alongside Ashtiaq for the murder, but was acquitted, despite suggestions he had prior knowledge of what was going to happen. Ashtika, meanwhile, was convicted and sentenced for 17.5 years. When Laura was 13, her mother apparently found her in the living room with a 32-year-old man at 5 a.m. Laura's stomach had been burned with a lighter. Her mother called the police, and Laura told them she had burned herself. The police thus took no action, not even informing social services. That is simply not good enough, and intervening could have saved her life. It's desperately sad. Across the country, girls, and a small number of boys, were drugged, plied with alcohol, beaten, threatened, prostituted, and gang raped. They were branded, cut, bitten, scratched, burned with cigarettes, had objects thrust into their bodies, were urinated on, and all manner of other depravities. Knives, guns, and meat cleavers were used. One girl was even threatened over the phone while attempting to report her abuse in the police station. Her alleged rapist said he would hurt her younger sister. At least 2 abusers performed illegal abortions on their victims. Family members like uncles, brothers, fathers, and sons sometimes raped victims simultaneously. In some cases, fathers trying to rescue their daughters were arrested. Girls were arrested when police found them in compromising positions with groups of men, the men left alone. There are even allegations that in one case, a victim was ground up and served to takeaway customers as kebab meat. This refers to the 2003 disappearance of Charlene Downs, a 14-year-old from Blackpool. I must say that there is no hard evidence linking this to Asian grooming gangs, nor was there sufficient evidence that she was killed or put into kebabs. In 2007, the Jordanian and Iranian men who co-owned the Funny Boys Takeaway were taken to court on hearsay, unreliable witnesses, and flawed surveillance material. Some police conduct was questionable. The jury could not deliver a verdict, and the case was later thrown out. It is possible that the pair may have been involved in child sexual exploitation, including an allegation the Jordanian drugged and raped a girl in the restaurant, but not necessarily the exploitation of Downs. It seems more likely that a convicted white sex offender who knew her father and was reportedly staying in the family home at the time was involved with her disappearance. Or perhaps another sex offender that lived in an alleyway Downs was thought to frequent for sexual activity. When the case was reopened in 2013, the officer in charge stated they had found CCTV showing Charlene collecting £70 from an older man. There is no hard evidence that links her disappearance to Asian grooming gangs, but there are suspicions these are active in Blackpool. As for the kebab story, for now it should be filed under urban myth, although I wouldn't have eaten in Funny Boys if you paid me. These are from my article series Don't Vote Labour Again, published on my Substack, link in description. I usually split each subject into smaller episodes. In the description, you will find links to the other episodes. You can also check out my playlist to find every single one. Please support me in my work by subscribing to this channel, subscribing free to my Substack, and by liking and sharing. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon as we plumb the depths of this dreadful government.